Charlie rose. Her heart was racing, but she couldn't tell if it was from the sudden awakening or from the remnants of a dream she could no longer recall. She shook on. John, Jessica, something's going on. Charlie was out of the car and running before they could answer, heading toward the mounds. Clay, she called. She jumped at the sound of her voice. They're gone, Charlie gasped, stumbling on the upturned earth. Clay was already running toward the apartment nearest him. Go back to the car, he barked over his shoulder. Charlie ran after him, glancing back, trying to spot John and Jessica. Charlie's eyes weren't adjusted yet, and Clay's flashlight seemed to sink into the darkness ahead of him. Charlie could only follow the sound of his footsteps as he charged through the shallow grass. She finally came to a brick wall and sprinted around it to the front of the apartment. Clay was at the door already. He banged against it and impatiently peered into the nearest window. No one answered. No one was inside. A scream cut through the night, and Charlie froze. It was high-pitched and human, reverberated off the walls of the houses. It came again. Clay aimed his light in the direction of the sound. We missed someone, he shouted. He darted around the side of the house, running blindly back across the field. The scream seemed to be in motion, making its way rapidly through toward the black trees. Over here, Charlie cried, breaking from behind Clay and running toward an indistinct movement in the dark. Charlie, John's voice cut distantly through the night. But Charlie didn't wait for him. The sound of gravel under her feet was deafening. She came to an abrupt stop, realizing she lost her bearings. Charlie, someone yelled in the distance. The rest was lost in the rustle of the trees as the night wind swept through. She tried to keep her eyes open as the grains of sand pelted her face. Then the wind finally calmed, and there was another rustle of branches nearby, this one unnatural. Charlie stumbled toward the sound, holding her arms in front of her until she could see again. Then it was there, just at the edge of the tree line, a misshapen figure stood hunched in the darkness. Charlie stopped short a few yards away, struck still, suddenly aware she was alone. The thing lurched to the side, then stopped toward her, revealing a sleek snout. A wolf's mane ran over the top of its head and down its back. It was stooped over, one arm twisted downward while the other flailed up. Perhaps its control over its limbs was uncertain. It was looking at Charlie and she met its eyes. They were piercing blue and self-illuminating. Yet while the eyes held a steady light, the rest of the creature was in flux, morphing in a disorientating fashion, even as she watched. One moment it was a groomed and agile figure covered in silver hair, the next a tattered metal framework, partially coated in rubbery, translucent skin. Its eyes were stark white bulbs. The creature flinched and convulsed, finally settling on its crude metal appearance. Charlie drew in a sharp breath, and the wolf broke its stare. It spasmed alarmingly, doubled over. Its chest split open, folding outward like a horrid metal mouth. The parts made a grinding, abrasive sound. Charlie stifled a scream, rooted to the spot. It lurched again, and something fell from inside it, landing solidly on the ground. The wolf toppled forward beside it, shuddered, and went still. Oh no! Clay arrived from behind Charlie, staring at the human body that lay writhing in the grass. Charlie remained motionless, captivated by the wolfish pinpoints of light that stared back at her. The thing tucked its head down, suddenly following again with a silver mane. It folded its long, silken ears and slung backwards, disappearing into the woods. There was a rustling in the trees, and then it was gone. No sooner had Jessica arrived than Clay was forcefully shoving the light into her hands. Take it. Clay knelt by the body, doubled over in the grass, and checked for a pulse. She's alive, he said, but his voice was hard. He bent over her, trying to look for something else. Charlie, it was John, checking at her shoulder. Charlie, come on, we have to get help. John took off running, and Charlie followed more slowly, unable to take her eyes off the woman who seemed to be dying on the ground. Clay's voice faded into darkness behind them. Miss, are you all right? Miss, can you hear me?